What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Preacher's Kids podcast. I'm here with my incredible co-host that we can actually see today. Thank you to those of you who donated to the GoFundMe to help bring light and sound to my good friend, Eli Blevins. What's up, Eli?
What's up? Hopefully you can see and hear me better than normally. No darkness today. Clear
Come on.
sound.
Let's go.
Clear
Legendary.
eyes, full heart, can't lose.
And you've got a twinkle in your eye today, and it's just so great. You don't look like you're living in a prison cell this week.
It could be sweat. I literally just came off a Peloton, so it could be sweat.
Come on, let's go. This Peloton thing, like, what is that all about? Because I've seen some commercials, but I haven't tried one.
It's just a hard bike, and it's hard, and I'm not good at it, but I try.
I have a real
bike, just little bike, and
I ride outside. Is that the same?
Yeah,
the same thing.
Yeah, same thing. Just
sweet.
Get a sweat in.
I bought it on Craigslist for $10.
I need a bike. That's a good idea. I need to.
Sounds like you got one.
Bike.
You got one in your living room right now.
A stationary one. It's at my parents' house, so I have to travel there and do it. But anyways, I just came back from there. It was awesome. John, how are you doing today?
Bro, just living the dream in quarantine that is ending today in Texas. Tomorrow, restaurants, malls, everything reopens, movie theaters. They've got some restrictions, but tomorrow we're going to go watch a movie. We're going to go to the mall and a restaurant all in the same day just to capitalize on all we've been missing out on for months.
We have another month here in North Carolina of that.
Oh,
and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, you can come visit us in San Antonio anytime.
And
speaking of the land of the free and the home of the brave, the incredible state of Texas, today we're welcoming an incredible guest to the Preacher's Kid podcast. You probably follow him on Instagram, and if you don't, I don't know what you're doing with your life. He is an incredible dude, a gifted preacher, an awesome musician. Like, his music videos have just been blowing me away.
Fire.
And one day when Eli and I grow up, we want to look just like this dude. Incredible man of God, Preacher's Kid. Welcome, Keenan Clark from San Angelo, Texas. What's up, Keenan?
Oh, wait, that was about me? What is up, guys?
Dude, so grateful that you're here.
Dude, such an honor to be here, man. It's been a long time coming.
Come on.
That's for sure.
We have been working on this particular interview for literally months, but Keenan is just book solid all day, every day. I mean, everybody wants him, and today we get to have like 30 minutes of his time. So we're so grateful.
Dude, how much do I owe you for that introduction, by the way?
Bro, you can Venmo me later.
I'll Venmo you.
Yeah. We'll take care of it.
Okay.
But bro, we're here on the Preacher's Kid podcast because PKs, all different ages, all different backgrounds, and some rogue parents that like to listen to our podcast to see what the crazy PKs are up to this particular month. And so we just wanted to open it up to you a little bit to tell us about your story as a PK. Tell us about your family dynamic and some of the things that you love about ministry.
Yeah. So actually, I've been a pastor's kid my entire life. So I really don't know anything else. My mom and dad have done like a few things on the side, like businesses and stuff like that. But for the most part, I've always been a PK. My dad was a youth pastor when I was a kid. So I started out a YPK and consequently went to all of the youth events, all the youth camps well before I was old enough to go to them. And so that was a ton of fun. I was almost like the little mascot for our youth ministry, you know what I mean? Just like running around, hanging out with all the kids, playing basketball. And so I loved it, man. I have zero, honestly, I can honestly say zero bad memories associated with the ministry and church and things like that. It was always my favorite place to be. I couldn't wait to go up to the church, and we were at the church almost every single day. I mean, I'd come up here and my dad be working in the office, and I'd be, running around the church playing tag or whatever with the other pastors' kids and stuff like that. So I've loved it. I'm the oldest of 7 kids. And so everyone's always, when they find that out, they're always like, man, your mom and dad must love kids. And I'm like, no, they just love each other. Like, and they need to quit.
Right.
I'm just kidding.
Hey.
No, I don't want them to quit, but they do. They love each other. Evidently a marriage with a little passion. And so, my mom and dad had been married for 6 months and decided to start a family. They wanted 5 kids by the time they were 30, and they did it. And I was the first one popped out. So
congratulations.
I know, right? Everything that's wrong with me, they fixed along the way. So my brothers and sisters, each one's better than the last. And they're just awesome. They're studs. And it's crazy that I get to kind of like lead the pack and whatnot. But I didn't always have ministry on my radar. I think whenever I was a kid, I used to tell people that I wanted to be a pastor, like my dad. I wanted to literally follow in my father's footsteps, every pun intended. And so I always told people that I wanted to do that. But then I also thought maybe I'll be in the NBA. But then I walked by a mirror and realized I was white and that wasn't going to happen. And then I wanted to be a Jonas brother, you know what I mean? But then I realized, my last name was Clark. That just wasn't going to look good, up in lights and whatnot. And so finally, after, trying everything else, I surrendered to the call of God on my life. And when I was in high school, I started learning how to play the guitar, and people didn't die when I sang. And so consequently, I started getting asked to lead worship for our youth ministry at the time. And then I went to a private Christian school. And so I blame all my issues on that. You know what I mean? If I have any sort of weirdness going on, I did, my entire life was either homeschooled or private school. I never once did a day of public school. And so I led worship for our chapel every single week at my high school. And so I kind of cut my teeth on getting up in front of people and stuff like that there. And I remember getting up there and doing that. And of course, like when you get up there, you've got to say something, right? You've got to like address everyone. You can't just like instantly go into Oceans or whatever the song was at the time. You have to say something to the crowd. And so I'd get up there and I'd talk for a second, and then we go into our set. And I remember a bunch of times faculty and staff would come up to me after the chapel and they're like, Keenan, you have no idea how much you moved me. And I was like, really? Like, which song was it? They're like, no, it wasn't a song. It was what you said before you started playing. And I was like, really? Like, are you serious? Like if I'm being honest, and I know we're just preachers' kids, so I can be a little bit more real. Like, I was just pulling stuff out of my butt. You know what I mean? Like, just saying stuff. You know what I mean? Like, just getting up there and just being like, yo, let's feel the presence this morning. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Let's not go through the motions. If you need
Are you going like all Joel Houston on them?
Yeah, like I'm just saying stuff, you know what I mean? And like, but people would come up to me and be like, man, what you said was exactly what I needed to hear. And these were like grown adults, like coming up to me. People who had handed me detention slips, you know what I mean, were coming up to me saying these things. So I knew that they weren't just trying to be nice, like they meant it. And I was like, wow, okay, like that was kind of when I started to get a sense like maybe what I say actually can like make a difference, maybe like God could actually speak through me. And it wasn't until I was a senior in high school, I started going through here at Celebration Church, I'm on staff here at our church. And when I was 17, we started a thing called School of Ministry. And I went through it. And I was the youngest person at the time to ever go through it. And I had to do a preaching class, homiletics. And so I had to preach a message at 17. And it was all right. I think I preached like Joshua 1:9 or something like that, be strong and courageous. And then I ended up getting tapped on the shoulder to go and preach at this little church about an hour from us. And I delivered my first Sunday morning message at 17. And I remember everybody just like, I mean, I thought it was good stuff, but everybody acted like it was the best thing they'd ever heard. And so I was like, man, like maybe there really is something to this, you know what I mean? And it was around that time when I'd always told everybody, like, I'm not going to preach. I'm just going to play the guitar. Whenever you're a musician, you have a mic stand and a guitar as like a barrier between you and like the audience. So there's like a safety blanket there. And then all your words are planned out because it's lyrics. And if you forget them, they're on the back wall and stuff like that. And I just never really found a preacher that I saw myself in. You know what I mean? Like I never saw anybody who was like, dude, I could do that right there. What that guy just did, I want to do that. And when I was 17, 18, God really started honestly, it was the Lord started introducing me to people like Judah Smith and people like Rich Wilkerson Jr., Chad Veach, all the people that you and I look up to, so much and have for probably years now. God started putting guys like that on my radar. And when I was like 17, I just started devouring everything that those guys had put out and were putting out. I think I listened to every Judah Smith message I could find probably 3 times a piece. Like seriously, the way people binge like Tiger King right now, I was binging Judah Smith. Okay. Like I was going nuts. Every spare moment I had was spent with Judah. And God just really started like showing me, he was really started refining me as far as like what grace really means, who grace really is, that it's not this concept, but it's a person, and that person is Jesus. And also it started really redefining what I knew communication to be, you know, and I just fell in love with being able to communicate and bring, because I just got tired. We have the best message on the planet and we have the worst people telling it. You know what I'm saying? Like, like Kevin Hart gets up there and talks about nothing and fills an arena. We have people who are talking about eternal life and nobody wants to listen to him talk. You know what I mean? So I was just like, man, we should be good at telling the best news ever, you know? And thank God, God works through anybody. He is so good. The good news is that good that anybody can get up there and say it and somebody's life is going to be changed. But I just thought we need to be better, you know, at explaining and telling the best story in the world. And so, and I by no means am the best storyteller. I by no means am the best preacher, but I just became obsessed with becoming the best preacher I could be and the best communicator I could be, and really refining and finding my voice. And so from there, I ended up graduating high school. Long story short, went to Bible school in Dallas, graduated from there in 2015. And then it was around that time that God really started opening doors for me to begin to travel and preach, and also opened the door for me to be on staff here at our church and start what is now our college and our young adult ministry. And so I've been doing that for like the last 4 years. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
That's awesome. You know, as PKs that God ultimately calls into ministry, you touched on 2 things that I'd love for you to dive deep into. And one is when you tell people I'm in ministry, but I grew up a preacher's kid, there's that outside perspective that goes, oh, must be nice. Like you had this massive leg up, so that's why you're in ministry. And certainly there are some perks, but there's also that element of, you talked about, I tried everything else and couldn't get away from God's call on my life. Can you just kind of walk us through how that works? You know, because being a preacher's kid and going into ministry is not like a cakewalk. There are some interesting obstacles that you have to overcome, especially when it's God's calling on your life. So just share with us about that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they either think like, you know, that you just had all the breaks, that of course, like that's what you did because that's what your parents do. I've even had people like, it's not been super often, but I've even heard of people who have experienced it more, you know, ferociously than I have, that people are like, did God really call you? Or is this just what was easy? Like the church was just what you knew. And so you're just like, I'll just preach or whatever, you know what I mean? Right. But I have to say that the last thing you could ever accuse my dad of is nepotism. The last thing you could ever accuse Brandon Clark of is nepotism. We do not get it easier, because I'm not the only Clark kid on staff at our church. There's actually 3 of us on staff. And so, but yeah, the last thing he is easier on us. In fact, we get our chain yanked faster, you know what I mean? Because there is that like parent relationship there where he just doesn't mind, like, you know, being just a little bit more curt with us, you know, being a little more direct. And so I don't mean to say, I don't want to paint a picture that he is unloving by any means, because he is the most gracious and merciful man I've ever met. But at the same time, we're definitely not here out of nepotism and stuff like that. And so I think, and ultimately there are people who would have a beef or whatever, you know what I mean? And ultimately I think that's rooted in a place of jealousy. But I think our entire church understands, like, yo, this is the grace that's on their life. Like there's a grace on their family to do this together. And there's a grace on them individually to walk their own calling out in their own specific piece of the body of Christ, you know what I'm saying? And their specific office in the ministry. And so, yeah, I think navigating those hurdles has been like, it's been tough, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people, when you grow up in the church and then you're on staff at the same church you grew up in, there's so many people who want to pigeonhole you as that stupid 13-year-old who was just flirting with all the girls at youth group, or that stupid 13-year-old that did this or that, you know what I mean? And when now you're like you're 23 or however old you are, and you're trying to just like be a 23-year-old and move forward. It's tough whenever people want to just pigeonhole you and hold you right there. And ultimately, you just have to remember that they didn't call you in and they can't pull you out. You know, the person that puts you in, which is God, and your leadership, they're the ones that see the good in your life. They see that God's hands on your life, and you're just going to have to rest in that and let the chips fall where they may. And that is a lot easier said than done, but that is how you get through it. You know what I'm saying? And that's that. I literally have to put that into practice every week. Like seriously, every week. There are people on my team who were at one point above me and they were leading me, and now I'm leading them. And that's one of the hardest things to navigate, because like it's awkward, you know what I mean? And if you just give them grace and you just take it one day at a time, one step at a time, and just, let love do what it does and cover a multitude of offenses. There's nothing that you can't get past. And ultimately, if they become a big enough problem, your leadership is going to deal with them. You know what I mean? Like my dad will deal with somebody if they are absolutely digging their heels in or whatever. But the truth is that you just got to let the Lord be your vindicator and just keep moving forward in what you know you're called to do, and just be cool doing whatever it is that you're called to do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
A platform has come early for me, but people don't realize that there's a lot of like hardship that comes along with a platform. There's a lot of pressure that comes along with a platform. And so sometimes the best thing you can be is hidden. You know what I mean? Everybody's ready to be like revealed. Everybody's ready to have the Mike Todd moment when all of a sudden the whole world recognizes your calling in a matter of 6 weeks or whatever. But honestly, that's overrated. You know what I mean? And that's a lot to gain at one moment, because then instead of having to worry about what 50 people think about what you said, you're having to worry about what 50,000 people think about what you've said every single week. And you've got to bring the hottest and best message of your life every single week. You know what I mean? And so I just think be grateful for the season that you're in, capitalize on the season that you're in, love the season that you're in, but look forward to what God's going to do through you in the future. And so those hurdles are real, but they're not impossible to get over.
Come on. Absolutely. I love that you said that the one of the best things that you could be is hidden. And for those PKs that do feel that call to ministry, they get to be hands-on with it every single day. And they are desiring something that God may never have for you, because that's not the main thing, but they're desiring something that maybe belongs to somebody else right now. And God wants you to grow and develop in the season that you're in. Eli will have to speak to some of the things that you shared, because like Eli works in his parents' ministry as well. Mm-hmm. I actually went on paid staff in my family's ministry as a teenager. Wow. In the worship ministry. So I never got to be that teen that flirted with all the girls in youth group. But not because of that, it's because I was a total nerd. And none of the girls would have given me a second glance. So I missed out on all that. Eli, he was the good looking PK that all the girls were after. Still is. I mean, he's, one word comes to mind, swagger muffin. I mean, that's what we're looking at right here.
Muffin.
I mean, that's it.
False.
Hashtag.
There's been so many facts that have come from this. That just was not one of them at all.
Dude, no, you're just blind to it, bro. It's your humility has blinded you.
That is not true. Actually, well, me and Keenan seem to have had a very similar, like, almost copy paste and send of stuff. I mean, so yeah, I understand exactly. It's hard for me because like I'm now leading teams, and most of them are older than me. And here I came 3 years ago, and like it was like same thing. Ministry was like kind of what I was thinking of, but like I went to business school and all these other things too. It's like thinking I was going to do that. So yeah, I meandered my way into ministry. But yeah, so I feel like we have some very similar like kind of upbringing as well in that. So.
That's awesome, man.
And John knows that. John can speak into some of that a little bit too, because he's been in ministry like a lot. John's like the OG. Like young ministry person there is.
Yeah.
I want to talk deep into something that you said. I want you to speak deeper into it, because there is a overflow from being a preacher's kid that if you're not careful, it will overflow into every layer of your life, leadership and ministry, wherever God places you, if you don't get control of it right now. And you said when you were leading worship in your Christian school, I'm a Christian school kid too, by the way, and I want to talk more about that in a second, but you said I could get up there and just say something and just kind of pull it out of my butt.
Yeah.
There, y'all, you should go follow Keenan on Instagram, because there's this preaching clip that you'll see where the timing in this sentence was just so perfect. He's up there, and I can't even emulate it because everybody's got their own style, but he's like, some of us have got our heads stuck so far up our past that we can't see the purpose that God has for us in the future. And you're just waiting for it. You're just waiting to, like, he's not really going to say that on the platform, right, at church, and it was awesome. But you talked about, like, you could just let this stuff out. You're just pulling these spiritual truths, whatever, out of your butt. And for a lot of PKs, they're at the church building every day of the week. So they're hearing about spiritual things every day of the week. Some of them are made to read their Bibles. Like, that's their homework inside their home. And they do it because they have to, maybe not even because they want to or desire to get anything from it. But I found myself as a church planter and a pastor, sometimes I'd get up on a Sunday and that's what I'd be doing. I'd be pulling stuff out of my butt that was not fresh and new coming from the Lord. It wasn't a result of study or Holy Spirit. It was a result of, I know what to say, so I don't need to do the digging that other people are doing. And God had to wreck me in that. So talk about the personal relationship that you had to have with the Lord, and how did that shift and morph and grow over time to go from surfacey, I know all the things to say, to like preaching that hot sermon and getting that fresh anointing and that fresh word for week after week, meeting after meeting, all those different types of things.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in the fact that you have no authority to speak on anything God hasn't first used on you. And so the reason I can preach, and I'm sure the two of you, I know for a fact, the two of you would agree with me because you guys experience this every time you get up as well. But the reason I can have and preach with such confidence and conviction is because I know what I'm saying works. Like, I have lived this out in the lab of my life. You know what I mean? God used this on me. It's wrecked me. It's changing me. If this does nothing but remind me of that, like if this sermon I'm preaching to you does nothing but bring all this back to me, praise God. At least I'm getting it again. You know what I mean? Because it's that good. And so I just really believe that you have no authority and you're going to produce no life where life hasn't been produced in you. And so if you're just pulling stuff out that you've heard, if it's all just secondhand regurgitated, Christian jargon and theological just stuff, then people are going to see right through that, and nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to want it. There'll be people who act like they do, but ultimately, it's not going to produce any fruit. And the best thing, though, the last thing I want is to be a great preacher and a terrible person. You know what I'm saying? The last thing I want to do is become a great communicator and a terrible follower of Jesus. You know what I mean? And so I don't want to just get up there and be able to just like say a bunch of hype things. And I mean, you guys know him, but one of my good friends, Noah Herron, we were having a talk recently, and he was just talking about how the Holy Spirit really convicted him about going for things that were full of hype rather than that were helpful. And I just think ultimately, if you're not going up there and being like, look, I don't want this just to get you standing up and clapping, waving your hanky, making you do a lap around the auditorium or whatever. I want this to actually change your Monday. I want it to change your Tuesday. I want it to change your Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? When you get up there and you start talking about stuff like that and you quit caring, and this is a process. Okay. So like, don't beat yourself up. And I'm not talking just the two of you. I'm talking about anybody listening. There's a process to this. Okay. But it took me a while to get over thinking about what people thought of me and start to actually think about the people I was talking to. Sometimes we get up there and we're like, man, this is going to sound so good. This is going to like make them think I'm such a great preacher, rather than, man, this is going to help so-and-so. This is going to help that guy who's been, cheating on his wife. And this is going to help that mom who's been neglecting her kids because she's spending way too much time at the gym and way too much time on the internet. And she's causing them to like have to go without because she's been shopping too much or whatever. You begin to think of these scenarios, and you begin to think of like literal people who are going to be sitting in those chairs listening to you. And you start actually asking God for things that are going to help them, not that are going to help build your ministry or build your credibility or your profile or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like when you actually begin to think about the people that are giving up a portion of their life to listen to you talk, which is the greatest thing that they have, because they literally cannot get that back. Okay. Right. The money that they give in the love offering or the money they throw in the bucket, they can make that up again somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? The greatest gift these people are giving you is their attention. There's a reason we call it paying attention, because it costs you something to pay attention. And when you want that to be, when you desperately want what they give you to be a good investment and something that they can get a return on, I just think that God has a supernatural, magical way of honoring that. You know what I mean? And I'm all for listening to other preachers. You know what I'm saying? Like the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun. You know what I mean? I honestly think that we're not called to be original. We're called to be faithful. You know what I'm saying? We're not called to bring a new light or something like that to the scriptures. But if you come across something that's new and nobody's ever noticed before, or you haven't heard said before, that's awesome. But the important thing is that we're giving people the truth. You know what I'm saying? And so if it does take some time of like taking what other people have said and crafting it, hopefully in your own way, I'm all for taking stuff. I'm all for stealing stuff, but like try to make it your own. You know what I mean? Don't just completely rip Stephen Furtick off. Don't just completely rip Michael Todd off. You know what I mean? Try to make it like an original thought, like, okay, this is what they're saying, but here's how I would say it or phrase it. But I'm all for, like, at the end of the day, we're called to give people the truth. And if it's the truth, it's going to help them. Give credit where credit's due, but ultimately all the credit goes to God, because he's the reason we're up here. He's the reason we're doing what we're doing. And I really do think that people will sniff out, if you're not personally spending time with Jesus, then people are going to know it. That's what they said about the disciples that they got before some of the religious leaders. And it says that they seemed like men who had been around Jesus. They seemed like men who had spent time with Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Right. That's what I want. I want my life to get up in front of people and be like, you seem like you've spent time with Jesus, not just based on what I say and stuff like that, but based on my character, my countenance, my tone. You know what I'm saying? The intentionality of my touch and my eyes and my body posture and all of that. I want all of that to say, man, Keenan Clark, he is one who spent time with Jesus. And I think that is ultimately what grows your ministry. I heard Jensen Franklin say this, but it's a dangerous thing to have a growing ministry and a shrinking passion for Jesus. It's a dangerous thing to have a growing ministry and a shrinking drive and passion for the person of Jesus Christ, not just to build your empire in your local little church in your street corner, but to build the kingdom of God, something that's going to outlive you. That's what it's all about.
That's right.
That's right. So good. Let's take it a little younger, okay? Because we've got a wide variety age of PKs that are listening. We've got some older ones in their 30s, 40s, and we've got some that are 13 and 14 right now. Okay. And I think that there are some PKs that are where I was, where I hear the phrase, they seem like they've been with Jesus. Like I remember when you're a preacher's kid, you get to be in the presence of some amazing people that most of the church never gets to meet or experience the way that you get to experience. They've been in your house. They've sat on your couch. You've been out to eat with them after the night services or things like that. And by virtue of the fact of the blood that runs through your veins, you get to be around some amazing people. And I remember as a PK, there were some that my grandpa would put it like this. He'd be like, this guy, he had God all over him, like you just sensed it when they walked in the room. And I would think, dang, I want to want that. Like I don't want it, because if I had it, then the bullying or the teasing or the ostracizing, like, oh, that's the preacher's kid, they can't hang out with us because they're so holy, like all those types of things, that's only going to grow if I have this like Jesus thing. So I can't honestly say that I want it, but I can say that I wish I wanted it. I want to want it. So what does it take to go deep, how do I want to want it? How do I learn to want it? And then how do I get that? What are the practical steps as a preacher's kid, other than just sitting under your parents' roof, hearing your parents talk? How do you get that on a personal level?
Yeah, such a great question. And I can relate so much. Okay. I remember being a kid and feeling the exact same way you did, John, just wanting to want it. You see other people, and you see your dad, you see other ministers, like you said, who come in and they sit at your couch, or you go to eat with them, and you're just like, I can tell you really want this. Like, you really are like 100% on board. All you eat, sleep, and breathe is Jesus and the Bible and prayer and worship music. And I just ain't there. You know what I mean? And you really want to want it. And for me, what made the shift for me was when I got people, or I found people, whether it was like in person or online, who were a little bit older than me. They weren't like my parents' age, but they were like almost like I could see them as like an older brother in a sense. And I saw the way that they loved Jesus. And sometimes I honestly believe it's hard. Like, the thing is, you can't go to Starbucks and sit down with Jesus. Okay. You can't hit up Jesus and say, hey, meet me at Chipotle. I'll buy your burrito today. I'd love to just quiz you down and just kind of get to know you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you can't do that. Okay. And so sometimes what you got to do is just get around people who you think do love Jesus, and you admire their relationship with God. You admire the things that they do. You admire the way they live. You admire the person that they are. And sometimes, like, it even comes down to like the things that they're into as well. Like, if they're into the things you're into, like say fashion or a sports team or a band, a certain genre of music, whatever it may be that they're into, find some common ground there. But the ultimate common ground is that they love Jesus with every fiber of their being. And sometimes you got to have something like that in order to truly begin to want Jesus more. Because you got to have something that you want to look like. It's hard to be like, I just want to look like Jesus. Okay, that means you want to be perfect. That means you want to be completely self-sacrificing. That means you want to be completely faithful all the days of your life. Okay, yeah, that's a hard pill to swallow, okay? You need to find somebody who looks more like Jesus than you do and be like, I want to look like that guy. Like, I want to love like that guy. I want to give like that guy. I want to treat people like that guy. I want to serve people like that guy. And then when you graduate to that level, you find a new one, and you find a new one, and you find a new one. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that there should never be a season in your life where you don't have some sort of a mentor or some sort of a, I don't want to say idol in the faith, but someone you just extremely admire. And you're just like, man, that guy, his relationship with Jesus is something, it's something to strive for. It's something to go for. I remember having people, everybody's like on the Leland train right now because he wrote Waymaker and all that stuff. But I was a Leland fan like back in like when I was like 14. Okay.
Sound of Melodies, like, bro.
Dude, yes, bro. Come on. Yes, you have. What a song.
You Soul in My Heart. Yes, you have.
Come on. That was the first song I ever led in our youth ministry.
Wow.
I sang it in the same key as Leland and could not do it, but I didn't know you could change the key. I didn't know. I was like, I'm stuck in E. Here we go.
Have you ever heard of a capo before, man?
Never had. I didn't realize you could change the key. I was like, this is the song the key's in, and this is the song we have to play. This is the key we have to play it in. But yeah, Leland was one of the guys who, to me, was just like so inspirational. I remember the first time I ever was introduced to him, we were at youth camp. It was an extreme camp with Teen Mania. I don't know if they used to put on the Acquire the Fire events. And so
Acquire the Fire, let's go.
Yeah, dude. And so Ron Luce, sadly, they, ended up in some financial trouble or whatnot, had to close down. But I remember God just wrecking me in multiple Leland shows that they would put on at the camp. And he would literally like sit there and cross songs out of the set list because he'd get up there in the middle and just start preaching. He's crying his eyes out with his guitar on, and like, it's totally spontaneous. You know what I mean? And I just remember just like seeing such conviction and just him talking about like being in his hotel room and just playing his guitar by himself and just singing to the Lord. And I was just like, he was cool, you know what I mean? But the thing was, is he wasn't like this suit toting, like weird guy with like a weird comb over or toupee or hair plugs, you know what I'm saying? Like, in some like mediocre looking wife. Like, he was like an actually cool dude who had like a cool life and was dedicated, sold out to Jesus. And I'm like, this guy loves Jesus like he does. Like, sometimes you think people who love Jesus just have no other option. You know what I mean? They go to the person with the unconditional love because nobody else will love them. You know what I mean? And when
Sure.
the guy who like has a lot going for him and has all this success is like that in love with Jesus, that he literally crosses his own songs out that he spent time writing. He's not going to play them for his audience because he wants to spend time talking about Jesus. Like that moved me. And as I kept graduating, you know, in the grace of God that was on my life, and ultimately when I became, you know, more in tune with the fact that I was called to preach, like I said, I began to find other voices and other people to aspire to be like, and to learn from their life and watch the grace of God on them and whatnot. So I think that's one of the biggest things. If you're 13, 14, if you're even 12 or 11 out there, the people that you need to be looking to are some of those small group leaders, you know, who are at your church, you know, some of those kids who are 18, 19. Now listen to me, they do not have it all together. They are 18, 19 years old. You need to give them some room to be 18 and 19. But man, they love Jesus. They love you. There's a reason they're giving up a whole night during their week to be there for you. They're not getting paid. They're munching on mediocre pizza and hanging out with you. Why? Because they love you and they believe in the call of God on your life. My biggest encouragement to you is don't let them go to waste. Text them, DM them, okay? Go out and make TikToks with them, whatever you got to do. Get around those people, because those are the people who are actually going to be there when push comes to shove, and they love you and they're cool and they're vibey. And yeah, I dare you to catch what they have. So
Yep.
I think that's a real
We
big
want
component.
to officially welcome Keenan Clark and Eli Blevins to the TikTok family since our last
Whoa!
episode.
Yes.
They're both out there now. Quick, give us your usernames. How can we find you on TikTok?
I'm
I don't
at
even know
Keenan
mine.
Clark _
At Keenan Clark _ Eli Blevins
I'm
doesn't even know
pulling-
his.
I'm pulling mine up. I am Eli Blevins 917.
Come on,
I need to follow Eli.
let's go.
Yeah, you do. I mean, I follow
I
you,
follow
but
Jon.
Yeah, we're connected on TikTok now.
Yeah.
Hey,
actually, I don't follow you.
I think, you know, we might have to edit this out or something probably, but you're in San Angelo, and so I want to correct one thing that you said. You're like, you can't just go to Starbucks and have coffee with Jesus, but I'm like, I do that at least like once a week, because I'm in San Antonio, and I mean, Jesus is always there, bro.
Yeah. Hey,
He's everywhere I go.
Jesus, bro.
And I want to look like him. I want to look like Jesus.
Dude, that is an amazing.
I want to look like Keenan.
Oh my God, shut
Bro,
up.
everybody wants to look like Keenan.
Dude,
But he said
okay, I
find
have
somebody whose goal is it's attainable, and I'm never going to make it there. Keenan sent me my macros, but then he just dropped me after that. So
bro,
like
no,
here I am just out here.
Bro. I'm here for all your questions. Dude, I'm telling you, this quarantine has like killed my workouts, bro. Any gains I had have gone out the window.
I got a rack.
It's
I
rough.
don't know if you know what that is. It's called the rack.
Like a.
It's incredible.
What do you mean by a rack?
It's this little machine or whatever that you can do like 100 different, I don't know what the word is, like workouts with.
Movements.
And it's absolutely incredible. It's killing me. When I first picked it up, you know, I'm like, oh, this thing's like 15 pounds. That's nothing. There's no way this is going to like wreck my world. And then you get in the middle of these like workout videos that you're doing with it, and that thing all of a sudden weighs like 150 pounds. And
wow,
it's incredible, but just like sweating it out during quarantine. Cause
yeah, dude,
I gained my corn 15 the first few
Have
weeks.
you?
Oh my gosh. It was terrible.
I've been doing good on my macros. It's just the, so I've been doing it on my eating. But it's like the actual like working out has been like next to non-existent. I've done push-ups.
So opposite of you. I have eaten
Really?
M&Ms and sweet tea like it is just no one's business.
I can't tell. I saw you shirtless with your wife, and you look great on the story. Y'all were answering questions or something like that?
Yes. Our friend Ethan Gaskell has these like question and answer like filters on Instagram.
I didn't even notice what the questions were because I was so zeroed in on your physique.
Oh my God, I wasn't even the one filming it. She had the phone out here.
So symmetrical. I hate you for it.
That's how Eli Blevins is growing the church. That's how they're growing the youth group right there. Like shirtless videos. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to, there's Keenan Fit, and then there's going to be like Eli's. Like, so last night, legitimately, I was on this t-shirt business. Like I had these ideas, And I was like, I'm just an average dude. I look average. I'm just average. So I'm just gonna make a brand called Average and just see what happens. So I paid for this like domain name for like $3. And I was like, I'm so bad at being average, I can't even figure out how to make a website. So I just like quit it. But I was gonna make like athletic shirts and all this kind of stuff.
Why not? You're not average, but why not?
I honestly, it was 1:12 in the morning, and I just got tired.
I love how exact that time was. 1:12.
Okay, because I know there's this thing because I set my alarm for 1:15 that I was going to go to bed. Like I set my alarm to go to bed, and I looked at it and I was like, oh, it's 1:12. I might as well close my phone now and just go ahead and go to bed.
Okay, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
So I don't even think that this is off track. I think this is something that like let's talk to the PK dudes for a second.
Yeah.
I remember being in 7th grade and this preacher came to our Christian school chapel and he's like, let me talk to the 7th and 8th grade dudes here for a second. One of the best things that you could do for yourself spiritually is to take care of yourself physically. He's like, you owe it to the Lord, you owe it to yourself, and you owe it to the 9th and 10th grade you that's going to really like that girl, but you're not going to have the confidence to ask her out because you've got a lot of work to do from all of the gushers that you ate when you were in 7th and 8th grade. And
the accuracy of the snack was what got me, because that was so me, dude. Gushers, bro.
Yeah, I just had some today. Like they've got a whole value pack now at the line at Walmart. It's not one tiny one, it's one massive one.
Oh my God.
Incredible. But
I'd be in trouble.
I wish I would have taken that advice as a 7th grader, and now I'm taking that advice as a 27-year-old. And so I want both of y'all need to speak to this. I'm so unqualified, but as a PK, let's be real. We've met a lot of pastors who got the donut gut. They follow the pastoral stereotype of donuts and coffee, and that's just our moms. We haven't even made it to what our dads look like, and I don't want to hate on anybody. And Harriet Blevins, if you're listening, that is so not you. You're the classiest first lady on the planet. But
come on,
Harriet Blevins is amazing.
Amen to that. Let's go, Mom.
And so I just needed to give that little disclaimer right there.
Shout out to the mom.
Speak to the physical side, because man, preachers' kids typically have terrible examples of taking care of yourself physically because they go all in on the ministry. And a lot of what you have to do is sit and listen to people and counsel with people and in an office behind a chair. Yep. What do PKs need to do to turn that tide, especially the ones going into ministry?
Yeah, I definitely think
I have talked to Keenan about this a lot.
Yeah, we have actually DM'd.
I've talked to you about this a lot because I don't know. I didn't know the answer. I was asking him what the answer was. That like I have texted him paragraphs of stuff. So
I don't know that I
take it away. I need your help.
I don't know that I have the answer, but I know for me, well, let's just be honest. We're trying to reach a world that is so fixated on exteriors. You know what I mean? Everybody's so quicker to look at a mirror or some even tinted glass before they take a look into their own heart and soul. You know what I'm saying? And so just from an evangelistic standpoint, I think the better looking you are, the bigger of a door people are going to give you into their life, because they're like, oh, like I actually like this person. But you know what I'm saying? Like they're like, you can call that whatever you want. People can roast me all they want, but that is the truth. That is where the people are at that we're trying to reach. They are fixated on, am I going to listen to you? Well, do I like what you're wearing? Do I like how you look? Do I like how you dress? Do I like how you have your hair? You know what I mean? All of those things. Now, can we get caught up too much in that? 100%. But I do think you need to be a person who does care. If you want people to care about what you care about, get them to care about what you're about. You know what I'm saying? And so I think one of the ways that we can do that, and you can make, okay, I will talk on this. We have way too many people in the ministry spending thousands of dollars on the drip, okay? They're spending thousands of dollars on Gucci, on Versace, on all this stuff, okay? Drew House, whatever you want to say, okay? YSL, okay? And I've been guilty of it too when in younger points of my life. But I honestly think that if you'll just focus on like being fit, you can rock a $5 Hanes t-shirt and some $20 H&M jeans and some, $40 Shoe the Bear boots, you know what I'm saying? And you'd be looking fly, all right? because like
Yep.
ultimately, like if you, whatever you, it's just going to look great because you look great. Okay. And so,
Yep.
and I also just think like you're going to be more yourself. You're going to feel better. You're getting more energy. And let's think about it. There's a call of God on your life. Okay. The shorter your life is, the shorter the call of God on your life is. And so therefore that means you need your body to work as long as it can work. And if you're out there with diabetes and you're out there having to pump insulin into your body or whatever it is that you're having to do every time before you get up and preach, you're only going to have the miles on your life are going to begin to just diminish and plummet. Okay. And so even just from a stewardship standpoint, every little angle that you look, it speaks to how much you love the Lord and ultimately how honoring you are. Your body's a gift from God. Okay. How you treat it is ultimately how you treat him. And so, yes, we can become too materialistic. Yes, we can become too obsessed with fitness. But at the same time, I would rather take things a little too far than on that aspect than not take it far enough and be unhealthy and unhappy and all of that. And just let's be honest, for people who are super fit, they can get so caught up into their exterior saying they look bad. But then for people who aren't fit and they're out of shape, they're not happy with the way they look, they're constantly fixated on their physique as well. You know what I'm saying? And so ultimately, whether you're on the extreme side of the spectrum or you're on the other extreme, where you're not taking care of yourself, you can still fall into the same trap. And so it's all about being careful. It's all about doing what you can to honor God, live as long as you can, reach as many people as possible, and feel good and live good while doing it. And I was told this in Bible school: if you ever see a pastor who has an ugly wife, it means they got impatient. Okay. And so let's just be real. Like the biggest testimony to the grace of God on your life is your wife. Okay. And if you want somebody who is a smoke show, you got to be a smoke show too. So, and both of these guys can attest to that because they total smoke shows.
Let's go. Dude, I honestly, so everything you said was awesome. Spot on. For me, one of the coolest things is like whenever because I've done several different things. I've been everything from sports teams, like my whole life was sports. That was my identity. But then here I am, I'm a part of a CrossFit like kind of thing. And we have so many that come to church now. Like we have like rows of people from like our CrossFit place coming in. My dad's in there, like he's in there more than I am. He's outdoing me in there. And, so like it's become almost like an outreach for us. Like there are people who are, and honestly, like we could be having a really hard day or just maybe even lethargic, but when we get in there, like we turn it on like a charm almost. And like, this is like our mission field, like right now, because let's be honest, when you work for a church, like you're not really always around too many non-believers, like just on a day-to-day office thing. And so for us, that's like, we've had conversations before with my dad about it. And I'm just like, this is kind of like, we're here to get, obviously in shape and look good and feel good and stuff. But like, there's people here that need some positivity. They need to see pastors who are taking care of themselves. They need to see that. And so maybe that will open up a door. And lo and behold, there's people in our church that, are coming because of that. And so you never know who you're going to encounter, And I think excellence is very attractive to people. And that can go from anything. Like if you're just be excellent in anything you can. And excellence there's not like a scale for that. Your own excellence. But just have a good life of excellence. Live that in every single way. If you are listening and you know me personally, everyone is about to understand and know what I'm going to say, but my life goal is to live 108 years old. And so that's it. So when you speak on like that kind of side of it, that's exactly why, because I want to live in 3 centuries, the 90s, 2000s, and 2100s, and have to hit 108 to do that.
Wow, that's so good. And one of my biggest frustrations is when people are always like, yo, I just believe God for my healing. But then they treat their body so terribly. You know what I'm saying? And I think your choice, your free will needs to work with the will of God for your life. And yes, the will of God for your life is for you to live happy, healthy, vibrant all the days of your life. One of the scriptures that one of our pastors quotes all the time is, as my days are, so shall my strength be. It's something that he recites over himself all the time. But if you're stuffing yourself full of Little Debbie snacks and Hostess and just gorging on chips and salsa every single day, you are not, that just shows, your obedience shows where your faith is. Your obedience and your actions, they show where your faith is. And that ultimately means that your faith's not really ultimately there. You're kind of driving it like you stole it, just enjoying it while you can. And do I think that it has to be broccoli and chicken breast for the rest of your life? No. That's one of the reasons I found what works for me with the flexible dieting and the macros, because if it fits, it ships one low flat rate. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can basically eat whatever you want as long as you stay within the numbers. And so you just got to find what works for you. You know what I mean? Live in moderation, and just ultimately, the better you feel, the better you're going to live. Like, and your life is to be enjoyed. God is not some cosmic killjoy up in heaven just being like, you need to be on your knees day and night. No, he's cool with you going to the gym, because I can attest, I can relate to what you're saying, Eli. There's so many people, since we switched over to a different gym recently, back in like November. And since then, literally, I want to say like 30 people who we've met at the gym have started coming to our church. And I'm talking about like people who are like hardcore into the fitness, stuff like that, who wouldn't give God a second look, have dared to step foot inside our church just because they've seen that we're normal. We like to work out. We take it seriously. We're normal people. We can hold a normal conversation. The only thing we can talk about isn't just Jesus. We can actually talk about stuff they care about. And when you find that common ground with people, like, they tend to just give you so much more. And I'm telling you, if you give Jesus an inch, he'll take a mile. And sometimes it takes doing that. So that's awesome.
Okay. First of all, my Bible says that the soul of the righteous will be made fat, and bodily exercise profiteth little. I'm quoting from the King James right there. It's what the Bible says. No, like, two things I want to say about that, or one I want to ask you about. First is, if you're a preacher's kid, or you're a preacher listening to this to see if this podcast is safe for your preacher's kid, and you want to learn how to do ministry better, you want to learn how a church ought to function, go join a fitness community. And you're going to find out what accountability really looks like, what a welcoming environment really looks like, what bearing one another's burdens literally looks like. You're going to learn so many spiritual lessons as you are in, like, bro, we always talk about and read scriptures about, like, when Elijah lays himself over or Elisha stretches himself over the widow's son and the resurrection happens. It's no coincidence that God uses the word stretching right there. Every great building movement begins and ends with stretching, and you don't get that until you're in the fitness community. So that's one. Like, y'all go join a CrossFit gym or Planet Fitness or something like that, and it's going to change the way you do church, number one.
Or if you're 12 or 13, just go kick a soccer ball.
Yeah. So I was going to ask him to retroactively speak to our 13-year-old selves, Eli, but I have one PK in mind, and I'm just going to call him by name because he won't care. His name's Logan. Logan's a teenager, a younger teenager, and he's listening to this podcast because he listens every week. And I want you to speak to teenager Logan, who cannot get to the gym because he's not old enough to drive yet, and tell him what he needs to start doing today. Give him like the 30,000 foot, 30-second overview.
Yeah. Hey, Logan, I want to tell you, you're awesome, bro. You're amazing. The fact that you care enough to tune into this podcast every single week is huge. You are miles and miles and miles ahead of your contemporaries, and God's hand is on your life. And so I just wanted you to hear that. As far as fitness goes, being it that you are 13 and you cannot drive yourself, I want to ask you, do you have a bicycle? I'm just joking. No. A bicycle is not a bad place to start for some cardio. So if you have a Peloton, if you're rich and you're like Eli, and your parents are rich and you're like Eli and you got a Peloton, that's dope.
Not my Peloton. It's not mine.
Prosperity gospel alert.
Mine.
Preachers and Pelotons. It's going to be a new Instagram account.
Gospel. No, this was actually sponsored. He has to throw it out in any like appearance that he is in. He has to bring in Peloton. And so any sermon, any interview, he's got to talk about it because he's making royalties off that. But anyway, Logan, back to you, buddy. Yeah, I would say there's tons of stuff that you can be doing at home. I remember when I was 14, I tried to do P90X with my dad. Tony Horton, X me. And so, but it was so hard, dude. It was a struggle. I'm not a morning person, and the only time I could squeeze it in was right before school. And so that lasted about like a week at best, and I was going to get ripped in 90 days. But the biggest deal, honestly, abs are made in the kitchen, okay? That is where they are made. And so I would just encourage you, eliminate snacking as much as possible. If you're going to snack on like jerky or fruits, veggies, stuff like that. Rice cakes. They make really good rice cakes, honestly. That taste super great. Get you some chocolate ones. But as far as working out goes, man, do some push-ups, bro. If you're watching TV, every time there's an ad or every time there's like a commercial, just drop down to do some push-ups, do some air squats, do some lunges, whatever you got to do. And then you don't feel bad about going back and watching your show or whatever. And just every time a commercial comes on, just drop down and do some push-ups and some squats and some lunges or whatever, some calf raises. Just start small, because those disciplines, see, like what changed it for me was when I quit thinking, oh, I want to get ripped in 90 days to, I want to be a fit 50-year-old. Like I want to be fit at 34. I want to be fit at, 44, 54, 64. I still want to be doing this. And when I changed it to longevity rather than, the insanity that I was putting myself through, that is what changed it for me. And just enjoy the small wins, enjoy the little bit of shrinkage that you got in the waist, and just keep going, plugging along. Because if it's not maintainable, it's not sustainable. And so just do stuff that you enjoy. One of the things I told myself was like, yo, I'm not a professional athlete. Okay. Like I'm not a part of any team. I don't get paid to work out, nothing like that. So if I don't enjoy doing a workout, I'm not doing it. Like I will find another way to work out that muscle group or something. Like if I just legit dread a certain workout, I'm not doing it. Nothing says I have to. And so
are you skipping legs?
I'm going to move right along. For a little while I did skip legs. And then I saw a guy with like some really dope legs, and I was like, dang it, I'm done skipping legs. Like I want his legs. Steve Cook. And so, come on. But yeah, dude, make it something enjoyable. Make it something you actually like to do, and you'll keep doing it. So yeah, set yourself up for success in that way.
That's good stuff.
That's right.
Okay, we like to close out the episodes in a particular way. And so Eli and I have shared some of our craziest PK stories and memories, like from crazy things that we did post-communion, pretending like those were shot glasses and seeing who could toss back the most grape juice, to, crazy things, pranks that we've played on people that they will never even know was us unless they listen to the podcast. So
right.
Do you have one of those for us today? Like, what's your most amazing, hilarious, or embarrassing PK memory?
I'm really trying to like dig up some gold here because there's tons. I think one of this was just something crazy that happened to me. So I went to youth camp, kids camp one year. It was, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Discovery Camp, the Birchfields, amazing people. Yeah. So we went to Discovery Camp near Houston, and they have water slides there. And one year, it was the first year I was getting to do a 4-day camp. And we got there a little early. So we were one of the first churches to get there. So they gave us some free time. And I went to the water slide, went down that thing, ended up going down the drop, flipping over on my stomach to show off to everybody. And it somehow hits the side of the slide. And in hitting the side of the slide, I scraped fresh paint off the slide, and it plunged itself all the way back to the bed of my toenail. Had to get rushed to the Austin ER and missed the entire rest of camp. Okay. I was literally at camp for an hour, had spent all that time raising money, and had to have half my toenail removed, had all the paint removed. And it was just this ginormous ordeal. And yeah, that was probably one of the worst things that's ever happened to me as a PK. But I've done lots of embarrassing stuff. You walk into the church and you're embarrassed. You know what I mean? Like somebody's doing something, you do something, I don't know. There's all sorts of stuff. But yeah, that was one of the ones that stick out to me.
Bro, I love it. Is there anything from stage that you've ever said and you're just like, what did this come out?
I've accidentally flubbed a word before and people thought I cussed. You know what I'm saying? Like there are like certain like you say funk. And if you say it, like, if you kind of like mess it up a little bit or you say it too fast, people are like, what did he just say? Like, did he just seriously say that? And I'm like, oh no, like afterwards, cause I didn't catch it. I was like, no, like what? No. Oh my God. And
I was just seeing if y'all were paying attention.
I listened back to it and I'm like, oh my God, it sounds like I just dropped the F-bomb in the middle of my message. You know what I mean? And so luckily, I don't know if you guys know this video, but I've never had a pinched his tits moment. You have ever seen that
terrible
video?
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's the best, worst one that there is.
So terrible. Lot chose to go pinch his tits. So terrible.
And he tried so hard to recover, and he never could.
Stop laughing. He's
Bless
like
his
so
heart.
mad. I had a guy. I have a friend who's on staff with that guy. It's crazy.
Oh my goodness! Wow,
Small
that's
world.
amazing.
I know.
Well, bro, so thankful that you could join us for the podcast today. We appreciate you.
Dude.
We've
Thank
got
you, man.
Keenan's social handles in the show notes. So swipe up if you're listening on Apple Podcast. And if you're listening anywhere else, you need to get an iPhone and repent and get saved. But for those that are on Apple Podcast, swipe up, follow Keenan on all the social medias. And Eli, close us out.
Yes. Guys, thanks for listening. Keenan, you crushed it today. Thank you for just bringing it. Love hearing from you. Guys, let's make the best of this rest of the quarantine, and let's go knock it out. Have a good one, guys.